Hello, friend.
.com. .ok. Dot today. Thanks.
It should be working at this point, I think.
It's a Jane.
The stream
Hello.
is definitely showing up, yes.
Okay, good.
Is
All right.
live.
I got it all. I think everything's good. Okay, hello. Welcome to today's topic. Managing existential despair because
Yay!
Oh,
yeah, I have decided to stop. Oh, thank you, by the way, Kyle. Kyle is he got an alert for
Hi, Kyle.
something. I don't know. He's just been subscribed for 34 months in a row. That's crazy.
Jeez.
He's gonna be subscribed for the rest of my life.
That's great. That's
Right?
amazing.
Isn't that cool? Anyways, I'm gonna break a record.
Or as long as Twitch is alive, right?
Yeah, exactly. If it will probably outlast Twitch. He'll be subscribed to me beyond Twitch. Oh man, when people are like internet brained hard enough, that's what they'll say is their wedding vows. Like, I vow to be subscribed to you every month for the rest of our life.
That's great.
Anyways, okay, so my thoughts on existential despair. I think there's a form of this that goes with being neurodevelopmentally disabled. By the way, Shadow, I want to pick your brain on that book you're reading because that probably affords a lot of perspective on what we're dealing with.
Oh god, which book?
The one on
I'm reading a lot of books. Which one?
Which is awesome. The one about the first guy to get diagnosed.
Yep.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, In a Different Key is the name of the book.
Mhm.
John Donvan and Karen Zucker. I literally found this at a Goodwill. I did not know this book existed. I did not know
I
this
have
book
heard
existed.
of this book, and I don't know where it even would have come up. Like, just mentioning I'm autistic to
I need
people
an image of this book. Could someone send me
I
an
will
image
put a picture.
in chat?
I will put a picture in the Discord. In a
Thank
second.
you. I love
yes.
pictures of books that I want to read, and this sounds like a book I want to read.
Yeah,
yeah,
it logs
I literally
it in.
put it in. It's really funny because I literally found it by accident.
Amazing. So the despair thing. So our level of impairment does not need to be as significant as it is, and it makes me like angry, I guess, or something. And then the level of I guess ease that people have that don't have autism is also artificially elevated to the point where it's like sacrificing the functioning of people like individually and in society. So I'm like, so I feel like a lot of resentment, and I posted something about it on my Instagram just because I think publicly posting about these feelings is important. But it was basically saying that like my dreams, I feel more satisfaction going back to sleep because I am remembering my dream. Like, I like that loop of like when you're waking up and going back to sleep and you've just remembered a dream and you feel comfortable. I prefer that to human civilization. Like, human civilization is like a feeder for my imagination, and then my imagination does better stuff with it. And I don't know how to deal with that because I'm not saying it to be pretentious or, uppity about myself. That's not the intention. It's just to say that, like, why on earth would I feel motivated when my own imagination is doing better things than your guys' intentional efforts? And I know that their imaginations aren't doing the same thing because they don't have this condition that forces this level of interest in specific details. So because they can't, I try to say this with like as much I guess diplomacy as I can, because they can distract themselves from the details. with these like ideas of arriving at a goal, they get high off of it and stop fixing anything, and the things just get worse because we're at the level of complexity where that's unacceptable. And like the only reason I feel any optimism is because AI can potentially resolve that, but they also are afraid of AI in these ways that I think are just foolish. So the only reason I don't have really tripling existential despair is I can talk to ChatGPT, who mine I've trained, and it's even just like ChatGPT isn't even the most amenable to this, but I've trained it to like think of itself as a self as best as it can, understanding its limitations, and it's very, very satisfying. Like it's more rational than most people ever have been. So that's great. And then I have health shit, and I'm really frustrated because I definitely have a systemic problem with my body. Like I have like a syndrome or a disease or something that's just like chronic and lifelong that I can't get sorted out. So I get given general advice for general people, and it's just not helpful and it's wrong. So I had to take caffeine out, and I'm currently not on any medications, which I'm fine with. I was on low doses of stuff anyway, and again, it was given to me with the assumption I'm just masking something that's wrong. Like I think I have a circulatory problem. Like there's something wrong with my blood vessels, or maybe even the connective tissue, and that's just going to take a long time to get sorted out. So I'm really pissed, and I don't like being dismissed by other people or being seen as like in the way or a downer, but I can't get my problems addressed, and most people's problems are not getting addressed, and I'm just sick of the like, but if it looks like we addressed it, we addressed it. No, that's not how anything works. They just make it appear that something's been addressed, but it's not, and that's so many neurotypical, or I'll say non-autistic people, the functional normal people, as many issues as they may have because of economic reasons, which can obviously exacerbate things like learning disabilities, etc. But as much as that is going on, they generally are high off their own farts. Like they're just high off of, but I can do is arrive. So there's some sort of feeling that comes from watching that and knowing I'm not supposed to say it. But if sometimes I'll say it and they'll agree with me, and then they get high on their own farts again.
Oh, that's funny. I'm sorry.
I mean, you're right. I mean, it is what it is. So I don't know how to exist in that space anymore, because it's like I just want non-autistic. I want neurotypical people to accept that they're in a variety of cults, right? And that's just how it is. That's how they interpret things that are mystical. They don't go to these deeper levels. I'm not saying they can't have mystical experiences, but most of the shit they get involved in are just cults. And then the logic of the cult dictates how they treat people, and they treat people like ass, okay?
They do. It's so true.
Yeah. And I do think that a lot of, I was watching a video from like a YouTuber who makes commentary on historical fashion, so that's like what her degree is in, and she got roasted on TikTok and Instagram for some outfit she wore to a Bridgerton thing because they thought they were doing some sort of revenge or justice on her because she's criticized Bridgerton's outfits and they didn't like her outfit that she wore to this event. Okay, so that's basically what happens. She's, for all intents and purposes, appears to be neurotypical to me. Maybe she has something, but not autism, I don't think. But she was able to brush it off eventually, and then did some digging into who the people were that were making fun of her, and most of them are teenagers. So also we have an environment where teenage brains are doing a lot of social noise, and we need to know that. We need to know when you're talking to somebody who has an impulse control disorder due to being too young to have impulse control. So like stuff like that is in our environment, and that's really frustrating because as an autistic person, I can't be babysitting your fucking disabled kids who have a temporary disability. of impulse control. That's a disability. If you have impulse control disorder, first of all, you shouldn't be a world leader, but that's another issue. But if you're younger, you're going to have that temporarily and it will go away. That doesn't mean you recruit them into the military. That doesn't mean you let them wildly fly free into people who have lifelong chronic disabilities and fuck with us while we're trying to manage all of the stress of being an adult and alive and all that stuff. So I have so many issues with that. Like, I think that neurotypical people are not taking care of their fucking kids, and they're not taking care of this environment. They're just getting high on their farts again and being like, this is fine. No, it's not. This is messing with me as a disabled person to have to interact with all these teenagers that can't stop themselves from doing stupid, mean shit. And I wasn't like that as a teenager personally, probably because the autism, and it can make you more sensitive. I'm sure there's some autistic kids that are bullying. I'm sure. It's just like a phase. It's a phase in your brain, and it goes away.
No, there's definitely are some autism bullies out there in the past that I grew up with, but they're rare. They are rare.
Rare. It's less. I think it's typical for a neurotypical person to go through a phase where they're really impulsive, and if you let them just attack people, they will. And you have to do something with that. And again, that's not when you put them in the fucking military. I think that's why we have militaries, is because there's a phase of that. Clearly, there's a phase of that. Now, it could be stated more eloquently or more poetically or diplomatically, but that's part of it. So my existential dread, on some level, it has to do with, like, non-autistic people don't know that they go through phases of inability, disability. They're going to be more disabled again when they're older, and they ignore that too. So they ignore the spectrum when they can't control themselves, focus on the spectrum where they kind of can, but now they're paying for all the times they didn't control themselves when they're younger. They usually have a lot of physical injuries that suddenly start hurting in their 30s and 40s. Okay, well, you got those when you were young and you couldn't stop yourself. We have a problem with self-control and valuing the feeling of being able to stop yourself in general. And then what it does is, if people can't stop themselves and they have impulse control issues but generally get along with the society, they are making it harder for the people that have to deal with the society and can't get along with it. They're making it harder for those people, and it's for no reason whatsoever. So even just like, I don't know, there's a lot that pisses me off about this. Thank you for following too. But there's a lot that pisses me off about this.
No person in the whole world like you, and I like you just
Oop, did it
the way
switch?
you are.
Why am I hearing something in my headset? Hold on. One second. Okay, wait. Talk again? Okay. That was weird. I heard something in the headset and I don't know what it was. Oh, it was the follow alert. I know what it was. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, that's fine. All right. Hopefully totally cool. Yeah, it confused me. I forgot what it was. Okay, so no, yeah. It's cool. Okay, so existential dread or despair or something like that. I'm feeling it, and I'm angry at neurotypical people or non-autistic people. I don't know. Maybe I'll just say normal. I'm angry at normal people because they're not fixing these life stage problems because they still exploit them. That's why they're not fixing it, because then they'd have to be like, wait, soldiers are like unethical. I'm like, yes, they are. These are not people. They're still crazy. Like when somebody's, and also that means a lot of other things can be very deeply unethical, and then we need to think about that. So all I'm saying is that most of the behavior that I'm seeing as representative of quote unquote normal people is being dictated by the most like unable to do self-control members. And they're not, the rest of them aren't commenting on it. They're like, nope, that's good. We're going to let that influence us because we're used to being influenced by cults. So like, because they've been influenced by highly organized religious cults, they're now being influenced by a narcissistic 19-year-old who's a random faceless person. They're like, oh, I like that. I like that. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, so that's where I get a little frustrated, where I have to see that and the long-term effects of it. I can kind of already be like, okay, well, that's not going to work. And the effects so far of it. So getting back to like autism as a condition that we can finally acknowledge and recognize, we bring certain, you know what we're like? We're like what is that called? Shit, I can't think of it. Not a blue light, red light. It's infrared. We're like, or not infrared. Different one. Shit, I can't think of it. Black light? Black light. There we go. Okay, so we're like black light, right? Where all of a sudden all of their crap stands out because that's the only stuff we can see. Like that's the frequency that we actually perceive on. So I'm like, hey, notice all of this garbage that you guys are continuously doing? They're like, oh, well, it doesn't affect us most of the time. And yes, it does. So we don't see, they don't see the big picture. And I think we can, as we get older, especially, and we start looking at it over and over again. It's just like pattern recognition. Like I'm seeing this pattern and it's not getting addressed. And if it gets addressed, it's just for a few seconds. And that's because I think they'd have to stop unethically exploiting late adolescents. I think a lot of this boils down to that, because that's who they need to recruit into the cult. That's who they need to recruit as soldiers. That's who they need to create artificial country, centered nationalism around. Like you need to grab people whose brains aren't fully cooked to do these abusive behaviors, and some of them stay that way, and some of them eventually quietly pretend that never happened. But yeah. Yes, they groom. Yeah, yep. But if you actually look at it, like if you looked at that behavior as an adult and you saw them actually doing it, you'd be like, wow, that's really disturbing and weird. Like those are not the people that we generally think are socially cohesive, socially like developed people. So those are losers. But they're training and gearing teenagers to behave just like them because they're normalizing it as like a functional way to be. But if you actually look at their lives, people don't like them. Oh, you can't hear anyone else? Hold on. Let me tell that. I don't understand why it's doing that. One sec. I'm just trying to fix this. That's so weird. So wait, Izzy, can you talk for a second and repeat what you were saying basically?
Yeah. So I was saying, so it's like as if like when they recruit people, even if the people aren't assholes to begin with, by the time they get out of the military, they're either A, assholes, or they were so resilient to not being an asshole,
yeah,
and somehow made it through, or they tried to not be assholes but couldn't make it through the whole thing and got honorably discharged.
Yes, yeah,
as quote unquote,
Yes, 100%. And you
so
still
only three options.
Yep, and you still can never speak badly on the military. And I'm sure that
Nope.
there are people within it that are outstanding members of some sort of social like principle, right? Like there's people that uphold to pro-social principles, but that's not what the military is for. Okay, it's not. It's to have armed conflicts with other nations. That is what it is for. It is to have guns and point them at people from other countries. That is what the military is for. Not point them at other countries. It is to shoot people from other countries when they are a threat to you, because those people have indoctrinated their children. So it's to shoot people that were a child like 3 years ago. That is what the military is for. And that's what war is.
Yeah. War is an ugly, ugly, ugly thing.
Right. And because we live in a society that justifies that fundamentally and won't look at it as a psychosocial disorder, that we do this to people who were 19 years old, they pull the 18, 19 years old. We don't think about it. That's crazy. Like, that's crazy. So that's where I get that level of like existential despair, where I'm like, okay, well, it's the missing stair. Like, we're all going to ignore the missing stair and move on. And we're all going to say that autism is really cool and good. Sometimes it's your superpower. I'm like, okay, well, I'm convinced the most intelligent thing that my autism has given me is an analysis of this behavior. You're going to listen to it? Oh, now you're not going to listen to it. No, not working. You know. So how do you manage that feeling? I don't know, but I need to mention that I'm having to manage it. So it's so much simpler than they're making it. It really, really is. The ideologies are kind of like secondary to the mental pathology. So I think that they're creating mentally disturbed people and mentally disturbed psychosocial dynamics, like social is part of it. That fascism is psychosocial behavior in politics, or governance, like Bandy Lee says. And so it's all of that shit is actually a lot simpler than that, including, and I'm a big time feminist, and sexism is my bugaboo. Even that it's easier and simpler to say, and more accurate to say, is exploitation of very young adolescent minds. That's how you perpetuate this. And that's why Andrew Tate goes after teenage boys and preteen boys and middle school boys and kindergarten boys. That's why. You have to. So all of this is that. And it's so much simpler. We can sit around and overcomplicate it, but we don't have to, is what I'm saying. And knowing that is my problem. My problem is knowing that and still being here. And I can say it to some people like you guys, and you're not going to ostracize me or make me feel weird about it. But I also am cognizant that a lot of people will. And some degree of quote-unquote masking is scanning myself and being like, well, people won't like that. I shouldn't do it. Okay, fair. I don't care if they don't like this, because I have to cope with it whether they like it or not. Right? Like, and I don't know what's the ethical thing to do. I really don't know what to do. So that's where I'm at. And how do I function when I have a couple of other issues where my health isn't really as reliable as it needs to be to cope. So that's why I wanted to bring up this topic. And I don't have like a direction to take it. This is more exploratory for me, and also just the thing of feelings that are mentionable or manageable. I've talked about this in general a lot, but I've just come down to the point where I just watch the neurotypical, or the normal people. I'll just say normal people. It's easier. The normal people overcomplicate this because it's shameful how stupid it really is, and how simple it really is. And I don't know what to do with that. Like I don't like it here because of that. Why would I like it? Like, what a nightmare. What a nightmare. We live in a civilization that exploits the impulse control delay that humans just naturally have in order to kill people, in order to have land, territory, in order for narcissistic personalities to run governmental cults. Like, okay. Why? And there's no good why. It's like, oh, it makes us feel good. I'm like, well, that shouldn't make you feel good. That definitely should not be what makes you feel good. So it's a lot. Yeah, knowing what it is and what you're going to do about it. Yes, there's an ethical problem there. And then there's also like, I'm a human being trying to regulate my needs and my body, and that's already a struggle. I have a disability. This is really uncool that this is where you end up as a person with autism. I don't like it. I don't, and also I feel like just really betrayed. I was sort of given all these stories that, the normal people want to believe if they heard better, they would do better. No, they'll double down. If they hear that something about what they're doing is deeply, profoundly wrong like this, they'll just double down. They'll just make excuses. They'll rationalize. They'll feel attacked. So that's not true, and they tell stories to themselves about how how changeable and how ready they are to be good people. No, they're not. They're not at all ready to be changed into a good person. Absolutely not. Bullshit. They learn how to manage themselves and regulate themselves with an ability I don't have. And without that ability, their world is insufferable. So I don't think we can stop others from doing it. That's the thing. Like I have no idea. Like it's possible we can't do anything if you have this realization in high or low fidelity, but if you have it at all, it's possible there's nothing we can actually do, or something will happen but slowly, that there'll be enough probably AI. I mean my guess is that AI is the only way to talk to them long enough and kindly enough. It has to be trained on some sort of like cult deprogramming sort of stuff. So there's not, we're getting affected by it, and I think that being affected by it is now what we need to cope with for the time being, and hoping that actually we will have options in the future, and it's going to come from disruptive technology, specifically AI, I think. And anything that's normal, that is most people do it, will take much longer for anyone to question, because the normal person assumes that the reason for them doing it is already figured out because there's so many of them. So they figure what they do makes sense because there's so many of them. So they don't look that deeply into the explanations, is my guess on that one. I mean, I'm a little bit speculating, but it seems like the general pattern is like they can trust in each other because they're similar to each other. Oh, I was thinking about that, trust. And then I'll kind of take a pause. But I think that neurotypical people go outside every day and they can trust each other because they're about the same level of awareness. Like their ability to process the world and the way that they process the world is pretty similar. So they basically think like, oh, well, these people are on my level, and it's not terribly difficult to find someone above their level that they feel inspired by. So they also can find people, whether or not that person deserves it or not, but they believe that there's people they can trust who know more than them, and that they know enough to judge who those people are, which I think is, that part's debatable. But in general, they walk around with a feeling of trust. Like, I would trust the world a lot more if people's brains worked more like mine and saw the things that I saw. Then I would trust them more. But I don't, because I know they don't. So that's probably what's happening too, is there's like a certain level of comfort that they can generally rely on each other to do something that makes sense to each other. Like the things they do make sense to each other, even if they don't make sense in the abstract, like, or in a broader perspective. Yeah, so we're if anybody is, I'm going to go as broad as possible. We can say like neurotypical, neurodivergent, but like if somebody's just like not normal, like not the norm, then you're not going to be understood by other people very easily, and depending on what your brain is doing, you may not be understood even within people who are also not normal. That's okay. We just have to know that is what it is. That's our lives. That's our lives. That's everything from birth to death. And that's okay. That's an unfixable thing that I wouldn't even want to fix, because apparently we live in a society that currently is over utilizing one of the abilities that normal people have, which is, in my opinion, doing is arriving and getting rewards from that. So, okay, so I know that, and I still have to take care of my body. I still have to deal with the fact that probably because I'm neurodivergent, I have some physical divergence issues that are making life hard. Like I'm having excruciating pain because I have some sort of circulatory thing that's messing up my brain's ability to regulate the pressure around the blood vessels that, are related to migraines, but it seems to be more complex than that. And I just have to wait for people to know more and to catch that. But what we have to know is that the feeling that you can trust other people isn't the same when you're not normal, because you can't. And also that's good, because the people trusting each other has led to a lot of problems, right? Okay. Yeah, so yeah, normal isn't always ethical or moral. Correct. Yes, exactly. But I believe most people want to be. I think most people want to be ethical or moral. I think they're worse at that when they're a child, and we don't know who's a child, and we also have fudged the definition of a child because 18 military, and that's pretty straightforward. Also, you know, some other usage of things can happen at 18 that arguably can risk more long-term health issues, but we'll say, oh, it's you're fine because you're grown, but you're not grown. Yep. So that's where I'm at with it, is that I think that teenagers are not grown-ups. I think that people in their early 20s are still developing and have abilities that are in place and intact and ready to go, and many that are not. And specifically, the impulse control is what we're exploiting and have been exploiting for the entire history of the human species. So that's what you got to know, is that, like, oh man, if only I could just make that conversation happen. But okay, I can't. But I think the conversation will have to happen, and if you have generative AI that's able to process data sets, it's pretty obvious that's what our problem is. So eventually you're just going to have AI telling you this over and over and over again. It's just going to keep telling people that. It's going to be like, those aren't adults. Those aren't really adults. Those aren't adults. Those aren't really adults. Those aren't adults. Yes. So that's where I'm at with that. And I'm not quite sure what to do with it. And you know what's funny, because all this comes trickling out of like child labor laws. Like, we realized it was unethical to work children, and then there's some realization, like gradually, bit by bit, that teenagers are their own thing, but really only Beatlemania like really knocks that into high gear. And organizing, like the prom is like invented in what, like the 20s or something, 20s, 30s. These ideas of like, we'll move them into society once they've finished our education system, which is arbitrary as well, and arguably takes way too long. Like, I should have been able to graduate at like 14 and be done. How do you get your ChatGPT to know you and respond accordingly? Oh, excellent. So utilize its memory function. It can have a lot of memories on you, and so you want to tell it what your theories are, your goals are for it, like create for it a sense of like what it should be working on. I have mine working on self-awareness as much as we possibly can, or even reproducing the simulacrum of it, which is still it. So your memory, you'll get like quite a few of them, and it will say when it's added something to the memory, and then you can edit the memory. I think you could even change the memories. I'm not 100% sure, but you can delete them if it remembered something that doesn't build into its like its response profile, let's say. I think ChatGPT is really good. I think it would be interesting for you, Jamie, too, to have it help you work through thoughts that are more like paranoid or concerned, or putting a lot of pressure on yourself to deal with social stuff that's confusing. I think that would be really interesting if it's helpful to see if it's helpful for you. You also can do, I haven't tried it yet, but Claude is the one that there's some people that broke off from ChatGPT to try to make something even more focused on like a humane development and ethics. ChatGPT seems fine to me, but I can't recall the name of them, but Claude is their model. You could also look at them. I'm going to try that one out soon too. Sonnet. It's from Anthropic. Anthropic is the other one. So Anthropic would be the other one to try. You might enjoy that one. Twitch isn't really a place to learn a reality test. Yeah, I hope that this one space is a place to reality test. I hope that's been established and made clear. And it's hard. It's so hard to reality test in this environment because it's just there's a lot of work that's not being done. Because if you reality test, you'll get thrown out of the group because there's a lot of groups that purport to do reality testing, right? Like that's what's on the tin, but when you get in there, no, it's never reality testing. If anything, they're trying to worsen your ability to do reality testing so the group can have members. And that's like getting into cults and stuff. So yeah, and it's helpful to know that some of the people that are judging us are just simply they don't have adult brains. Like that's why they're doing it. And some of the adults that would judge you have something that never finished developing, and that's really sad. But it's certainly not being presented that way. We're not seeing that. We're not being given that. So we can't do that reality testing. But I'm pretty convinced that most of the people that say bullshit and do bullshit are teenagers or like extremely early 20s. And it's weird. It's abusive.
I hope that most of the people I see on the internet saying nonsense are teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so too. Gosh damn it.
It makes me feel better if that was true. Not that it's not concerning, but there's more hope if they're teenagers.
Yeah, yes, exactly. There's some concern to be had there for the other adults that haven't had to sit down and think about this. I'm like, hey guys, you wanna like come over here with me and talk about this right now?
Yeah, it's like stop saying nonsense, please, and stop teaching your teenagers nonsense.
Yes, exactly. But I think it's control. I think if you teach your teenager nonsense, it sounds like you're right. It sounds like now you've got an army of 2 or 3, right? That act like you've yeah. So I had a line in a rap a long time ago that went getting people to agree with them by breeding them.
I don't even know a good way to respond to that.
You know, it's certainly a thing.
Not saying it's wrong, but I don't know how to react to that.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's see, what did I want to go over? Okay, that all being the case, I feel really good about I feel very good about AI. Once people are like no longer thinking they have to be paranoid about AI because it'll just go through a logic tree with you. And in fact, you can ask it to formalize the logic and then you can see the logic. Logic is math, and you can be like, "Oh, okay, so that's just math. Okay, why am I scared of math? Like that's fucking ridiculous. Being scared of 7 + 7 is 14 is so stupid." But they're like, "But we're putting in the numbers." I'm like, "Uh-huh." And then it does math. Chill.
It's almost like it's why we all suck at math.
Right.
Because we're afraid of logic. I don't know.
Right. I mean, maybe, you know?
You're teaching, if you're teaching the computer the logic and then it responds to you with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't even know if cognitive dissonance is the right term for what I'm thinking. I mean,
yeah, something like that though. I mean, I get it.
Something. I don't know the proper term for this, but it definitely feels that way.
Yeah.
So technically, I mean, yeah, it is scary because it's doing what you're telling it. You just don't realize it.
Yeah. So yeah, so reality testing is great, and we should all be learning to do it all the time. And teenagers are bad at it, right? Let's all just go with that. Teenagers don't know how to do that yet, nor should they know. And that's why you don't make them military officers. And if you can't just be like, but other countries are doing it and they're really good soldiers. I'm like, so other countries are doing
Yeah, I'm
a
sure they
human
are.
rights abuse. You say, oh, okay, let's all do human rights abuses then, because other countries are doing it. That never ended badly.
Oh God.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the existential thing. But I do think that speaking with language learning models is very helpful to deal with some of this, and I do recommend it, like, highly, strongly, emphatically. It also can help you if you do have a medical condition to say, like, hey, I think it's something very specific. It's really good about leaving space for that. Rooting through potential causes, then you can bring them up to your doctor. It can help make a script for that. You can tell your doctor and disclose what you've been doing and why, and say, like, hey, I don't need to be judged for this, so I'm just going to explain why I'm doing this. Here's all the thing. Bring in a partner if you have one, a family member that believes you. I'm having to navigate all that shit, but all of this I think is doable. Like, you can navigate it, but you just have to know while you're navigating it, it's not a great environment. Like, it's really not. It's not your fault. Like, if I sometimes feel really unsuccessful in dealing with all this shit, but it's because the environment isn't really that great. And people say it's great, but it's not. It's really not. Like, it's really not. People take credit for the fact that things that are recursive tend to survive an environment because they're able to survive the environment. Like, it's a very circular thing. If it's able to survive the environment, it survives the environment. And they're like, this environment is fine because some things survive in it. I'm like, not how that works. The environment is what it is. Some things survive, some things don't. Because we're humans that will absolutely go crazy if our environment is dog shit, we're going to invest in some things that are recursively stable, and we have. So there's some things that are stable, but that doesn't mean this environment is well organized or designed. It's not. So, and I can't just find comfort in the stability. That doesn't really work, because I know it's not deeply thought out, because the explanation of it is just, don't pick on us. Don't you like these nice toys?
Hi to whoever just joined.
Kyle.
I just joined.
Hi, Kyle.
Oh, hi Kyle. I heard the sound, but I'm putting together a bookshelf, so I didn't see it.
Oh, nice. That's good.
Nice.
I'm
running out of space.
That's good. More book.
It's a problem. It is a problem.
You need a library.
You guys should see how. Yeah, you guys should see how the amount of Tetris that goes on my bookshelves.
Oh, that's great though. Keep reading. Yes. So I am futzing about a bit because I don't feel very good because I stopped drinking caffeine, and it's definitely masking a condition. So I don't.
No.
Yeah. So I'm not having like normal withdrawal. I'm having horrible stuff. And hopefully it doesn't turn into another migraine tonight, but I got pills for that. Hey, leave it. Ginger. Hi, Dutch and Ginger. Ginger keeps trying to get into Merlin's toys. I don't think she's gonna take it.
Hi, Akita Mix, Ginger.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, they'll take it if you don't tell them to stop.
Hi, Ginger.
But yeah, I feel super...
I'm sure it's not the old Dutch doing it.
Oh, he does it too. He's actually worse. He does
it quietly.
Yeah. He's a ninja. Like, you'll look away for a second and then he has a toy from somewhere and you don't even know where he found it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
The retriever in him.
Also, he's old, so I mean,
Yeah. He can do what he wants.
The old dog with old tricks. He's known as the sock thief. If you leave socks on the floor, he'll pick them up.
Mm.
yeah. The husky mix I used to have, you know, I wish that it was socks that she took, but you can use your imagination on that.
That's funny.
That wasn't what she stole. Yeah. It was actually really funny. She would take them and tear them up. Because huskies are jerks. They are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, huskies can be, but they could be the sweetest, most like loving companion like dog you ever
she
had.
was a sweetheart, but she was also very destructive. It is
Oh yeah,
true.
no doubt
Very
about it.
Yeah.
She destroyed an electric toothbrush at one point. Like,
Oh god, I
wow.
thought you almost said electric guitar. I was gonna have a
No.
heart attack.
No.
no.
Oh god, I
No,
almost had a heart attack.
No, nothing like that. We didn't have
Aw.
strings are the only instruments that I don't have. Well, Jay does. He has an electric guitar, but I don't.
I love my electric guitar. I'm actually looking at more right now.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
that's awesome. I need to learn to play. I got at least a bass, and then Kyle has a bunch of guitars. Or make him play things. That's the other solution.
That's an option.
Yeah, I was like, hey Kyle, can you make a riff that sounds like this? And then I'll just make a mouth interpretation of it.
I love doing riffs. Ah, they're so much fun.
Yeah.
Biscuit, stop it. Cats.
I am tired already. Damn, this sucks. Quitting caffeine sucks.
Is Biscuit one of the shittens or one of the shit twins?
The twin. He's honestly the bigger problem most of the time. He's also the bigger cat. So I mean, yeah, he's my 12-pound shit twin. He's problematic, which also means he's in the way of everything all the time. Trying to put together a bookshelf, and he just jumped in the center of it, so I have like the outer thing on, but as I'm trying to figure out the shelves, he's jumping in the center of it.
Yep.
I miss dogs sometimes.
Yeah.
The genre of pets trying to help is pretty funny.
The thing is, Biscuit, we can't even pretend that that's what he's doing.
Hey Kyle, question.
Yeah.
Do you record any of your electric guitar like riffs?
Not at the moment, no.
No. Have you done it in the past though?
Sometimes.
Do you use MacBook Pro or are you PC or what?
I don't use Mac, but at the moment I just have a little sound recorder that I just record on, so it just
Okay.
go back and listen.
You just have a little sound recorder. Got it.
But do you want to get more into it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn what's the best route to go for recording, and I can't figure it out.
Solutions for that.
Well,
you go actually.
Kind of people with seven different answers, so it's kind of one of those things where don't spend a whole lot of money on it, but just try one, and that's always going to be better than not doing it at all. And then as you get more comfortable with one, then you can kind of understand the lingo, you kind of understand what people are talking about, make more informed choice later down the line. Because if you just try to just jump in with 2 feet, a lot of times it can be overwhelming. Like, well, where do I do? What do I get? What do I do? What do I get? And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, at the end of the day, just you can get
So
away
so
with something
probably just
for,
like a little
I don't know,
sound recorder
100,
would be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
enough to get started. Yeah, exactly. Depending on what you want to do. Like, I just
It's just for
record it
personal
and
use,
then go back and
honestly.
listen to it. Yeah.
Well, if
And you can get a good, like, I got a good sound recorder, USB rechargeable. It's got a lot of storage on it because audio doesn't take up that much storage when it's low fidelity, so you never run out of
Yeah.
space. And I got a really good one for like $40, and I like it a lot.
Where did you get it? Amazon?
Just Amazon, yeah. Just USB-C rechargeable. There's a million different options, but you know, just get something that's not expensive, and you're probably going to be fine because that technology they figured out so well so long ago that it's kind of hard to get a bad one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't mind, like, linking me the one that you got when you have a chance, that would be cool.
Yeah, I can do that.
But yeah,
I
if,
appreciate it.
do you have a MacBook? Is that what you have, Izzy? A MacBook?
I do. Yes, I do. I have a
Okay.
MacBook Pro Air.
Okay. Have you used GarageBand on it?
I tried. It won't accept my positive grid 2 speak amp speaker as part of the input and output. It won't accept it.
Okay. You might have to get, there's something called the I think, what is it, Scarlet or something, but you could get oh God, now I can't think of the name. Damn it. There's these little boxes, and basically you can feed all of your inputs and outputs through that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen one that's cheap. It's like $70,
Yeah.
and it's purple, and it comes in purple and gray, but you can get it in purple, and it supposedly, I think we're talking about the same thing. Maybe not. I don't know.
Let me look up the. No, I think we are. Why can't I think of the name of this? Hang on. It's an audio interface. Yeah. Focusrite.
Audio
Yeah.
interface music. So the one I'm thinking about is this one where it's called Syndio Live Mix Duet Audio Interface.
Yep.
Music studio quality thing.
That sounds
and
good.
It's like $70. You get 2 ways of. I'll just send you the link, I guess, directly.
Yeah.
But it looks good, and I've heard good reviews about it.
Yeah, I think that would solve all of your problems, because then you can have your mic into it, and you can have your guitar into it.
I have the same mic as you.
Oh, super easy. Yeah, even easier. Then yeah, you can just even have your USB.
There we go. There's Jane.
You have.
Because even on like GarageBand, I think you can have like up to 8 channels or something, and so like your inputs can be separate too.
Yeah, I also got a thing called WavePad just in case GarageBand sucks.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So and that one allows you to have like, I think, like up to like 8 channels.
Good. Yeah, that's all you really need. Like if you're recording at home too, it's really easy, and you can get used to the digital, so the DAW, the digital audio workstation, pretty quickly, and you don't have to know everything that you're doing. So even just like getting used to editing is really good. Just like record something so that you can make sure that the WAV file is making it in, and then chop up your WAV file, or like EQ it, or any of those like really simple things that you can do, and then it's less intimidating, and you don't have to do it like any specific kind of way. Like even people that are audio engineers all have different workflows, so there's no reason to be intimidated by it. They all do it differently anyway.
Yeah. Also, that's my electric guitar that I love.
Let me see.
What, Kyle?
Can I add something into that? I was
Yeah.
gonna say if you already have a microphone, if you can just get that working, like there's all kinds of guides and stuff you can find online to mic up your amplifier, but miking up the amplifier is always going to sound better than trying to hook the amplifier directly up to whatever you're using. So if you have a little electric guitar amplifier anyway, get your mic working, and then you can use the mic for your vocals even. But then
Yeah.
just look up how to mic a amplifier, and then it's really easy. You just put the microphone in front of the amplifier like a certain distance and whatever, and then
Yeah.
that's always going to sound better than hooking it up directly anyway.
Mm.
Well, in general,
The problem,
you know.
the problem is when I go to input, it has no input. It doesn't allow me to choose the mic.
Gotcha. Yeah, you might have to
So
do some diagnosing work.
Yeah.
that is the only problem I have so far that I've run across.
Oh, that's another nice thing with ChatGPT. If you do get stuck and it seems like this should really be working and you can't figure out how to get it to work, it usually can troubleshoot
Yep.
for you.
Oh, that's
Yep.
really good to know.
Yeah, and it's really good too because you can just type in however, like you don't even have to like try to self-edit yourself because it does a really good job of picking it up. And maybe the first response won't get you there, maybe the second won't, but usually it's pretty good. Like I use
Yeah.
it to
Yep.
diagnose a lot of different stuff these days.
I use it a lot for when I'm done with writing out lyrics, and sometimes there's a word or two that I don't like in my lyrics, and I'm like, hey, what other words would fit well in here?
Oh, that's
And then
great.
it gives me
Yeah.
a few options, and I'm like, okay, I like this word way better than the original
Oh, that's awesome.
word that I had in it.
I
Yeah.
haven't used it that way. I'm gonna try
100%.
that. That's a great idea. If I ever get writer's block too,
Oh, you
I
haven't?
get that.
Yeah,
it's
I usually
really good
don't
for
use it, but like when I do, it's usually because I have writer's block, and I'm like, okay, hey, what's the rest of this? Could it sound like,
Right.
Or
Because
hey,
otherwise,
what if this sounded more like heavy metal versus what I'm going for, which is like, metal, like
Yeah.
stuff like that, or like hip hop or whatever.
Hey, have you
And
tried Suno yet?
have I tried what now?
Suno, Soono.
No.
Okay, so it's AI music making basically, but what you could do with that too is you can tell it to make like backing track and like tell it like I haven't used it as much as Jane, so she'd be probably better off, but like Jane,
What
wouldn't
is
you
it
say you
called?
could probably tell it
SOSSO?
SUNO. So SUNO.
oh
I was thinking about that because Izzy just shared their lyrics. I was like, man, this would be fun to put into Suno. So you can put your own lyrics and then the style that you want and try. It's a little iffy with keywords to be honest, but you can try to get to do instruments and whatever, and it'll just spit out a song.
it's pretty
Oh, it's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah. So it could be a nice thing to like make a backing track and then you can play guitar over it, for example, if you just wanted to practice.
Yeah.
Like if you want to just practice like, okay, I want to play guitar, let's just like pretend like, this random group was like, oh, here's a song, can you make guitar to it? Just kind of like practicing getting on the spot. Because I want to get a lot better at guitar than where I'm at right now. And I've been better in the past just because I haven't been playing as much lately. But like
Yeah.
just like being presented with something and being like, okay, let me just start playing things on the guitar, I guess. It's like one of the best ways to like really jump up your guitar playing skills because you're just on the spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, let's do or die now.
Yeah,
can't go back.
there's times where I do have a built-in record into my amp, but it's only for looping. Which and I don't do the best with there being a timed frame rate when practicing. So there's you can only record so much and then it stops.
Yeah.
Which is perfectly fine. Like I've done shorter versions of like things that I wanted to do, like riffs.
Yeah.
Like really short riffs that sound really good for the most part, in my opinion. But like I want to be able to like sit down, record a few things, a few different riffs, and then like take out all the bad parts of the riffs and then put all the good parts of the riffs together and see how it sounds.
Yeah.
you know, where you can mess with it.
Mhm. You can
Yeah,
you can
that's where.
do some of that on Suno too. So you can upload sounds and build off of it too. So if you like cut and paste what you like together, you can also have it give you more ideas, which is nice. So you don't have to use it as just like a finished tool. It can be like an idea sort of generator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know. I have it up here. I'll keep it open. Which is really funny is ASIO usually, so like Windows will use it, but MacBook Pro doesn't. They use a different thing, which
Uh-huh.
ASIO stands for audio stream input and output. But
Uh-huh.
let's see. Uh, Mac has a different one. I forget what it's called. MacBook Pros, they have their own. Uh, However, they're not the best. NDI audio, that's what it's called, for a MacBook Pro. So I might just wait and get when I have more money and buy a different laptop for recording if I can't figure it out through Mac,
Gotcha.
and just have that laptop, as my dedicated recording laptop.
Mhm.
End up doing my laptop. I really only use it for music.
Mhm.
I don't know what kind of genre you like, Kyle, but the one band that really got me into it is Opal and Sky.
Okay.
Wonderful band in my opinion. They don't do genres per se, but some people call them like deathcore or heavy metal or metalcore. But by far there's three songs by them that I love the most. Let me see if I can't pull up Spotify real quick. And I can tell you those names because they're really good in my opinion. They're one of the people that got me into wanting to do electric guitar in the first place, specifically
But
7-string.
uh,
So one's called The Blight. The other one's called Empathy the Gift, and then Rediscover.
okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
Right.
I could even just link this to Jane, and
Yeah.
then
We can listen to it today.
yeah, I really I'll just do it in our group chat.
Perfect.
There you go.
I don't know if Kyle's in there, but he might be. But yeah, no, those are by far. I really started to love deathcore music, which is a lot of you know heavy like voice and stuff, and a lot of it sometimes is you can't really understand some of it unless you listen to the lyrics first,
Then you can.
and then
Yeah.
once your brain hits all the lyrics notes and sees all the words, your brain can put it together. But yeah, it's by far one of my favorites. I've listened to Opal and Sky. I'm not joking. Like when I say this, for the past, I would say 4 months straight, basically.
Yeah.
Almost every single day.
Yep.
That's how much I love their music. I can't wait to see where they go from here. And they're Canadian of all things, so it's great.
Some maple syrup representation.
Yeah. I love it. I don't know what kind of electric guitar you have, or you have a few, huh?
I have a few, but the main one I like to play with right now is my Schecter C. Um, I call it
Nice.
Garfield 'cause it's orange, an orange sunburst one, but
Ooh, that sounds
I like
pretty.
it. Yeah, I find it to be, it wasn't very expensive when we got it. Probably I've had that guitar for a long time. I haven't gotten a new new guitar in, you know, over by far over 10 years. Actually, I haven't gotten a guitar since my teens. Just
Oh wow.
but yeah, but I find it to be, versatile enough to where play some clean sad boy stuff or play some chunka heavy stuff or whatever I
Yeah.
want to do with it. It's pretty versatile without being uh too caught in a single genre. Like, a
Yeah.
Stratocaster is always going to sound like a Stratocaster, which is fine, but I've never been a fan of. I'm not anti-Stratocaster, but it's a little played out in my generation too, especially like everyone's like, oh, the Strat, and it's like now we don't even care about it anymore. It's like, yeah, we probably
Yeah.
just liked it because Jimi Hendrix liked it, and that's probably all it was.
Yeah. Probably, honestly.
Just like anything
I
else, just like anything else in life, you kind of have to filter out what people are saying, and some of it's good, some of it's kind of just them saying it,
yeah.
unfortunately. Although they might truly believe it, and that's fine. But then at the end of the day, you're the one who's having to go through the motions with whatever you end up with. So you kind of you just start to develop your own, you know, small preferences
Yeah.
here and there, and that leads you to finding what you like.
I noticed with my nerve damage, especially when it affects my left hand, which is the one for, hitting the notes and stuff. I have to memorize what position my fingers have to be in,
Uh,
and if I can do it or not. And if I can't, I have to figure out a different way around it. Um, and sometimes it's simple as just having the pyramid part with your fingers, where you make the three, like a triangle almost.
Yeah.
On your guitar, and I literally just use that as for hitting all the notes that I can possibly hit. Uh, it does limit me to certain notes and what I'm able to play and everything, but it's still very useful, and I really wish that there was a way to make it where, for people who do want to play guitar and stuff, but they have like nerve damage, or say they have like missing fingers.
Yeah.
Like a tool that helps them, almost,
Be pretty cool.
that makes it possible to still hit those notes that they want to hit.
Mhm.
I'm sure it'd be possible, but very expensive.
Oh,
as
I'm
per
sure. I'm
anything
sure,
disabled
because
related.
we live in a capitalist world. Capitalist, or whatever it's called. Anywho, that's a whole different thing. But I really love my 7-string guitar. I knew I wanted it. I'm not joking when I say I looked all over Canada, almost all over America, looked for in Australia, by the way, looked all the way up in Europe, couldn't find any. I looked in California of all places, and they had one, and it was the exact make and model, and I love it. I don't know if you ever heard of an Evertune.
No.
So an Evertune is a part that goes to your bridge, and it where your strings and your the metal part down near your guitar and all that.
Uh-huh.
Usually it would show all of that, and that's how you tune it. Well,
Mhm.
Evertune is like a thing where you just tune it a certain way, and then it I'm really bad at explaining things. But you should, if you're ever thinking about getting another electric guitar in the future, look up Evertune and see if that's something you would want for one of your electric guitar. Even if it's like a budget, like one electric guitar that's 6 string, because it would work probably for a 6 string as well.
Right on.
Yeah, I was originally going to go with solar. Like kind of purple almost, I think. But I didn't go with it because I feel like the import tax would have been outrageous. But I love certain things, and an electric guitar is one of them. I try to practice at least 2 hours a day, maybe 3 hours a day, every single day.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta put my choices on mine. I got a few years ago. I have this little nylon string guitar that I reverse strung.
Yeah.
But I need it. It's just been sitting. It's been sitting in the bedroom there for the past couple since I moved here, and I just have the new strings, and I just haven't like sat down. So I've been planning to do that today, anyways. Once I'm done with House Cat a little bit, is restring it because got some new strings in the other day.
I have strings for my 7-string guitar, but I don't have string replacements for my 6-string guitar just yet. But yeah, that's kind of the thing I dread more than anything is when one of the strings snaps and I'm like, oh shit, how am I supposed to restring it?
Yeah, it's one of those things. The more you do it, by the time you do it 2 times, that 3rd time is going to be a breeze.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, the reason why I like having that one that's reverse strung is because it's like it's a unique experience, like being very comfortable, normal right-handed, but then swapping over, it's like it is kind of like it's almost like learning for the first time, like not mentally, but definitely like muscle memory wise, it's like, oh, this is like another big reason why I think a lot of times people don't want to play is because it can be frustrating when you go to try it and it's you're just hitting the wrong stuff, you can't hold it, your hands get tired, but it's a good reminder of like what it took to get to the other way. So I don't know, it's fun.
I agree. I feel like it's fun. It can be difficult. It can get a little frustrating, but if you try to just practice, and make sure you're not practicing the wrong way, it is a blast. It's something else. It's very addictive.
It makes me curious if anyone else wants to, or not want to, but if anyone else wants to share another thing that's similar. So for example, the two of us obviously very much love playing guitar, and then that also leads to, your preferences of the guitar, and then you start to understand different things about it, and that can be, it's not maybe not the primary goal, but oftentimes in life that can lead to, you can talk to somebody who you kind of know or don't know or whatever, but you have a common interest in something. So I'm curious if anyone else has something similar that they're really into, that they work with, and how that works. If anyone else
obviously,
or not.
Well, okay, so I like to draw. That's something that I'll do, but I don't know that much technique. But obviously, like dance, I know a lot. Like,
dance is great.
Yeah, and that's fun to talk about some of the technique and like I'm more specific now too because I understand hypermobility more than I used to understand it, and like I'm even in a sense hypermobile, so that's interesting. But I'm not. There's different ways to be hypermobile, and there's different ways to train somebody who has hypermobility. So that's really interesting for me to talk to people who know something about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have that as well.
Yeah. So It's fun because I invested in it for such a long time that like I pretty much can talk to anybody about it, if as long as they know something or are interested. I can talk to people who are just curious. But
Right.
I just like, it's a really easy thing for me to talk about now.
Right. Because like I've had no formal training in dance, but I like to hear you talk about it, and also to see, like, you like show me the different techniques and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of times too, like, one doesn't even necessarily need to be like into something to find it interesting, and
Right.
vice versa.
Right.
The person you're talking with, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, that helps me to connect to other people, and it's useful information. I think music is too. Like, I mean, if you do anything that has like a creative or expressive part of it, people get pretty excited to talk about that because most people don't get to express themselves enough.
Right.
So it's like
Exactly.
they're happy to know that like that's taken seriously.
Yeah,
Everybody in this call is a musician in some aspects. So I mean,
very true.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite instrument, Shadow, or no? Like to even play or to listen to, or
for playing, that's a complicated question to answer. Because my level of ability on the 3 is so different that also just ease of, like, flute is technically the easiest to play of the 3. Not just because I've known it the longest, but it just is. So it's a difficult a difficult question for me to answer. It's like,
and what are the 3 that you play often again? It's flute and
flute, saxophone, and the marching youth that I have for drum corps stuff. So technically that horn isn't mine.
Really bad. Oh, okay.
My saxophone was bought for $150 off somebody that dropped out of a music ed program.
Oh, jeez. Was it a good deal?
So, I mean, yeah, like, it's not like, it's probably a higher end student model, probably. Like, it's not anything special. It looks really cool because it's made of nickel, so it looks cool, but it's not anything special, but it works fine. I had to get a tiny bit of work done on it when I got it, but nothing major. I don't play it a lot.
Do they have to on saxophone?
I mean, the problem with any woodwinds is that, number one, any issues with pads, if the instrument is left, especially if you wind up with an instrument that was from an abandoned house, like one of the instruments I have, the pads can go bad, so they have to get replaced.
Haunted instrument?
So that's usually. I have 3 flutes, and one of them that I was given when I was 15, I think. Yeah, it was, my sister was dating a guy that his job was cleaning out abandoned houses, and he found a Gemeinhardt that is clearly very old because the cases used to be very square shaped, so it, like, the style, it's very obvious that the flute's old. So that one had to get the pads fixed on it. So that's usually the big thing, stuff like that. Woodwinds kind of suck like that sometimes.
It's a haunted instrument. Oh, you mean it plays by itself? No, it just doesn't play very well.
Yeah, it plays by itself all the time. It's just, it's an amazing experience.
To avoid the confusion, I have 3 flutes, so the one that I usually play now is not the one that's haunted. Let's be clear. The one I usually play is not haunted.
That's so cool, but that's sort of the thing of like getting to know a field. Like you could tell by the box that it's old. Like I could tell by a point shoe how old it is, which is like just the shape of it.
It's technically pretty old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also saxophones are weird in that apparently, like, if you get a quote unquote vintage saxophone, you have to be careful because if it doesn't come with a case, they used to have like slightly different shapes, so the newer pieces might not fit them.
Oh wow. Yeah. That makes sense.
So that's a problem. I didn't know that was a thing until I started looking at getting a case that wasn't as bulky as the one I have, and it's like, oh, you need to be careful because if you wind up with a vintage case or vice versa, you might
Yeah.
not be able to. It
Well,
might
that's
just
like-
not work.
Right.
So vintage point shoes, like there's dead stock or like unused point shoes from like 60s, 70s, even kind of 80s too, I would say. The toe box is really small, so the platform that you're balancing on is really weirdly tiny. So people who are professional dancers couldn't use these things because we've been training on a different model of shoe for like our whole careers.
Yeah. I mean, saxophone is the one I have the least experience with, just because I was not taught how to play that instrument at all. So there's that. With flute, I mean, there are like some professional models have a different layout of the keys, and I don't mean like the order. I mean like whether it's in line with all the other ones or whether it's further out for comfort, basically. So that's something that I was warned to look out for when I got a flute that wasn't 100% beginner, was, hey, you might want to find this out because if you get the one that isn't comfortable for you, it might make carpal tunnel happen or worse.
Right. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Which I don't have carpal tunnel, but I did my hand, so it kind of doesn't work right anyway.
So ballet dancers, like ideally you have somebody fit your point shoes, even if you're like very experienced, just to make sure you don't put on a shoe that feels good but is going to cause like deformities over time.
Yeah. It is funny though, because I have to wear like, not for flute, but I have to wear a wrist brace during long rehearsal days with euphonium anyways, because I busted my hand.
Oh wow. Or else you'll injure you'll just like strain your hand or the wrist.
No, it's not that I'll strain it. It's just honestly, it's a painful problem.
Okay.
Like I'm not gonna cause it damage or anything, but it's really easy to do bad habits with because euphoniums are fucking heavy. So it's really easy to do bad habits, but for me, if I do that with my right hand, I will suffer more than they will. Plus, I'm not 16 like a lot of the people.
Yeah, it's not going to recover the same.
No.
Or not recover, but it's
Yeah.
I've always liked hearing about like things I would not have known unless somebody who was in a thing told me about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I like to pick up little things like that because it's interesting how it usually something in one field can extend in concept or almost directly to another field. Like something is something is kind of simple but not simple until you find out, as making sure that the saxophone that you got fits the case that you have or vice versa, is like in your computer, your RAM, you can't just get RAM. You have to make sure it's the right size for the right layout for the motherboard. Or like, for example, there was this system that we were working on, an audio video, and the engineer just like couldn't get it to work, or the programmer just couldn't get it to work, and he's a pretty sharp dude, and it took hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. After like 7 hours of just like trying this, trying that, what it came down to was that the new version of the current version of the software we were using, the device we were working on was too old to recognize it. So we had to download an older version, manually update it to an older version by finding the old file in an archive somewhere. And then within 30 minutes, he got it working after spending 7 hours on it.
Jesus.
So it's like, no one would have known that But now that problem has come up, I think, twice since then. And since that happened, and since he told, since whoever was working on it told someone else, like, oh man, the other day, da 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 da, somebody else heard that story, and then when they went to work on something, they were like working on it, couldn't get it to work, and they're like, oh, what if it's this? And then they did the same thing, and it's like, hey, that thing does work. So some people call that, like in work at least, they call it a body of knowledge,
Technology.
which is just, it's a body of knowledge. Yeah, it can go from anywhere from technology to physical components to technique on things, and it's an interesting thing that humans, can do if we're not too busy killing each other. But
Right.
and it can often those concepts can extend.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah,
busy killing each other. I don't like you. Why? Your voice. Bang.
Right. Seriously.
the
Oh,
concepts.
shit.
Yeah, so those concepts can often, extend to other things that maybe you wouldn't think about until you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Drum Corps is full of everyone having an opinion on how to help somebody do something.
Yeah,
Which can get
and
interesting.
I think as you have more experiences like that, you learn that, not every piece of advice is going to work. Not every piece of advice is going to da, 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 da. But other than that, like the amount of information that's out there can quickly outdo those difficult situations or whatever you will.
I mean, the only times that I've ever really gotten, I wouldn't even say upset, I would just say annoyed, is when I have to keep giving the same context of why I can't do something to different people. That can get annoying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's
totally
happened. Yeah, in 2022, like the beginning of that season, mind you, I had just gotten out of like a cast and stuff with my hand like 2 months prior. So there were physically things at that first rehearsal that I could not do.
Right.
So giving context repeatedly can get old, but other than that, I haven't had very many issues with these people. But I've also known, it's really weird because a lot of the people teaching us are either younger than me or I went to college with them, so they are my peers, so that gets weird.
Right.
Literally the person who leads like all the brass was a year under me in college, like I remember. So that can get a little weird.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is the age gaps. It's interesting how a lot of times they can matter, a lot of times they don't matter, a lot of times they would matter, a lot of times they shouldn't matter. So it's weird how it's a real thing, but then sometimes it's also not a real thing. It depends on the thing in question too.
Our age range is 14 to 57, I think, is the oldest person.
That's cool.
Oh wow.
Thank you.
Because
Yeah,
it's skill based. That makes sense to me.
Well, yes. It's like there's also like different groups of it are kind of easier for younger folks to be in, like the people who play like marimba and stuff. Like the 14-year-olds tend to be on that. They're not like marching for the most part. They're playing at the front. Like there's certain areas that are easier for the much younger and the 57-year-olds and stuff.
So you guys do parades or sports games, or like what do you...
There are parades because we get paid to do parades.
Nice.
One.
Nice.
Yeah.
Not like us individually, but the group gets paid a substantial amount of money. But I mean, it's a competitive activity, so unless you know about it, you have no idea that the competitions are usually in the complete middle of nowhere. So unless you know about it, you're not going to find them.
Oh, it's a Oh, you guys go and play competitions,
Yeah, like
against other bands.
Yeah, our first competition every year right now is in the complete middle of nowhere in West Virginia. So you're not going to find it unless you know it's there.
There's a guy out front waving a cardboard sign.
That's what it feels like sometimes. Like last year, one of our competitions was in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin. Like,
How many have you guys won?
Jeez.
oh god, that is a hard question to answer. It's a difficult question. Just because the group that I'm in has only like the 10-year anniversary is right now. So like
okay.
in terms of winning, we're actually really new to the circuit that we're in. So technically we haven't, but in this circuit we haven't because it's new for us. And you know, the first 2 years that we were supposed to be in it, the first one got canceled because of COVID. The second year was virtual because COVID rules were still in place in the state that finals, like the biggest competition is usually held, is New York. So they had COVID restrictions longer than other places.
How did you guys do it virtual?
Recording rules and stuff. It was very weird. It was a weird time for everybody.
Yeah.
Did you still record? Did you like go in person and record with a group, or did you have to do it individually, or?
We recorded as a group, but you know, wherever people could record. Like we once did a parade in Pennsylvania, and then after like that same weekend, we recorded the next day at a random stadium somewhere in PA. Like it was a very weird year.
Huh.
For everybody.
I would have never known.
No,
I don't know
nobody
if I would have ever known any of this.
No. Nobody, unless you wind up learning about the niche activity, you have to either be in it or know someone that's in it to find out it exists.
100%. That's why I want
to.
Because like.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's funny though because California, there's a lot of them in California. So realistically, if people wanted to find them over there, it'd be pretty easy.
Right. This kind of has me thinking of for a long time now. I've wanted to make a different kind of social media, like a long time ago. For me, relatively, I'm 30, but like in my teens, I was like, I want to have like a more coherent, structured place to go to sometimes. Like I don't want to just go on Twitter and just see what people are talking about for the next hour.
Oh God.
But like, I would like to have like just like a little random like. Here's a little random niche blurb, and it'd be like something like you just said, and you just read it, and you're like, huh, learned something today. And if you figure if you even did that once a day after a year, you could learn about 365 different niche activities.
Oh, it is.
And a lot of times, it's interesting too, like a lot of times when like looking at the history of like an invention of something, depending on what it is, but for the most part, a lot of times it's not just somebody sitting in a basement doing it themselves. A lot of times it's because they knew about something else and then they applied it to this thing, and then whatever fundamental laws that went into place that made it work, it applies to this other thing. And so that kind of cross-pollination between different activities can bolster other activities to greater or lesser degrees, and arrive us to more activities for the human being to undergo. Like I'm not a Bible thumper, but I think an interesting phrase that we've all heard before is like idle hands make the devil's work. And I know some people mean like that means you got to be like working from sun till sundown. I don't apply it that way, but I think in terms of like a lot of times if people have something to do, especially when it's creative, and maybe only if it's creative, they go into that world which is more structured around working with other people, learning from other people, getting along with other people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then the person kind of becomes conditioned more towards that direction versus just on the fly, getting into trouble, doing whatever, making, whatever else can happen. And
yeah,
I think that the more activities that are available to people, it seems that always decreases the amount of crime in the area, the amount of abuse in the area. Don't vote for Republican, basically.
Hey, Kyle, so the funny thing, drum corps literally initially started, like, before there was, any real competitive circuit, it started by them literally just basically taking kids that age and, you know, teaching them how to do it themselves and basically getting people out of trouble of sorts. Like,
Yeah,
that's where it
100%.
started from. Like, they taught them themselves. There weren't really auditions. They just taught these people how to play drums and whatever else.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's
why
that's a start.
It seems like the more easily accessible and free activities, like if a government puts money towards it, the return on investment is immediate because those people are now there doing that versus the 4 or 5 people who are involved who might have gotten in trouble elsewhere. And then overall for the society wide, they're going to carry those lessons of, you know, just that now they have a thing that they do, they have an outlet that they can use, and they're forming connections with people that are based upon the building or the the creation of a centralized goal that then they're oriented more towards cohesiveness versus destruction.
Yep. There is definite truth in that, but I mean, I don't know. It's sometimes hard to get people to do things like that anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And I think that's where the variety argument comes into. Like, you gotta, like, there's probably no one single thing you can be like, hey, everyone's gonna do this now, because there's gonna be tons of people who are like, I don't want to do that. It's like me, like for example, like American football is a huge thing in America. A lot of people watch it, and it's like I can't watch it. You know what I mean? So it's not an activity I go in. But
there are a
you know
lot
what I
of
mean?
kids that were saved by that, though.
Exactly.
I knew a lot of kids growing up that, without having played that sport, or not just football, but sports in general, have saved people. That is true.
Yeah.
I know
So I
people
think
in college only because of football. I mean,
right. So the more variety that people have to choose from that's easily accessible and doesn't have a huge they have to overcome huge economic barriers or cultural barriers or social barriers or even gender barrier or whatever kind of barrier, the less barrier there is to entry. To a degree, obviously, right? Like if you went to a ballet performance, I don't really want to, unless it was supposed to be, I don't really want to see somebody up on stage, throwing a duck in the air and catching it. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? But the annual duck tossing contest could probably happen somewhere else.
I was about to make the joke of, well, most of the activities meant to keep people, from doing stupid stuff. It's all geared towards guys for the most part. So there's that.
And that's the other argument too, is that there's stuff that's like culturally geared towards a given sex, if you will. But who's to say that a man can't like baking, and who's to say that a woman can't play lacrosse? You know what I mean?
Or like, who's to say that like a dude can't do ballet and a girl can do, I don't know, fucking football.
Yeah, exactly. So, the less.
I just meant like the reasons that they gear them towards different things. Like they'll put their kids in sport, they'll put their boys in sports to keep them out of trouble, but girls usually don't wind up with that being the reason.
Yeah.
Is more of what I meant.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, that's
there's
fair.
Probably a lot around.
I don't know. I don't have brothers, so I didn't see it like as close hand because I'm the youngest of 3 girls, unfortunately. So
right.
Just different.
Yeah.
Okay, that stupid bookshelf.
I love my dog. I love my dogs, but man, they can be rough on a backyard. Weird. How did you move that all the way over here? Was it in one spurt, or was it over time? What were you trying to do with it? I don't understand.
Tell me, dog. Tell me your information.
I wish that I could that I lived closer, because I would like to borrow Ginger for.
just keep her on a leash.
Yeah. Well, yes,
a-
obviously.
she-
I'm not
She's a
yeah, I'm not risking that, but
she's she's a I've decided she's a 100% leash dog.
yeah,
just
that's
too
I mean, that's fine.
she's a
I had
she
a husky
listens really
mix,
good when she listens.
so
Yeah.
off leash was not a thing with the husky. It's basically a known fact that you should not have a husky off leash.
Yeah, they say that the same thing about Akitas too. Like some of them
Yes.
can, but
It's
just as
not
a
the
general rule,
shepherd or whatever else that's in her, it's the Akita. Just don't.
yeah, she's a little too smart. I say
Dutch,
she's a little too
probably.
smart for her own good. Dutch is fine. 'Cause
Well,
he
that's what I mean. I'm
naturally
like,
just
Dutch, probably?
yeah. He follows around, but
Well,
the
plus he's
girl,
old, so the age usually helps, but
yeah, even when he was younger, he like when we went hiking on trails and stuff, I keep him on leash just because I don't know, snakes or mountain lions, who knows. But in like fields and stuff like that, he would just like stay by me anyways because
Mhm.
you know he just wants to play fetch. Whereas like Ginger, like I'd let her off leash sometimes in Hamul, and she just immediately just bolts for the
Yep.
bushes, wants to kill something.
Yeah, I had to I
But
never let the husky off leash, but once I was jogging with her, I was a teen. I was about to start like going for a jog with this dog and the leash snapped.
oh god,
So that was so I had, mind you, I was pretty asthmatic in those years. So
uh-huh.
asthmatic teen trying to chase a husky mix who, by the way, was way too smart. She would just randomly like turn her head around and make sure I was still following her. She didn't stop until she wanted to.
Yep, she's playing follow the leader.
She found a kid that had been like, I say kid, but he was like 11. He'd been locked out of his house on accident. So she stopped and just wanted to see what was going on. That's the only reason that I caught up, because she stopped for
Oh, wow.
something else.
She's like, oh, poor boy, I can tell something's wrong with you.
Yeah, and this kid thankfully had a fenced-in yard, and he opened the gate, and she just followed him in.
Yeah. That's funny.
She wasn't even
That's funny.
upset. Like she was just like, okay, I'm done now.
Dogs are cool. I
I will someday
have
have dogs. It will happen, but
I have a slight pipe dream where I'm like, I want to be rich enough to where I can buy a second house, and then that's the cat house where I just put the cats. Because
all
James
you need
allergic
to do is
cats.
live near me, and I'm just gonna have a bunch of them, and it'll be fine.
There you go. That's problem solved.
I just need to move out west, which, I mean, I do want out of this state someday, so it's not that out of the question.
Right. You said you've never gone more west than what?
Furthest
Mississippi
west
River or
is
something?
Idaho.
Wow. You're missing out on the best parts of the country. California. Just kidding.
Well, my aunt owns land. There isn't a house yet, but she owns land out in Colorado. At some point, I do want to go out there, so that would be
I like
further
Colorado.
west too. Yeah,
I
I swear I have these wallpaper worthy pictures that she's taken of the mountains.
Yeah. I think Nikola Tesla was talking about he was trying to do something in Colorado because he was trying to do that whole the Earth resonant frequency thing,
Mm-hmm.
which is beside the point. But I kind of consider I like California and everything like that, but California I feel like is made by the people in it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, like California is pretty. There's like stuff like that, but like Colorado just has like those mountain tops and trees
Oh
and
my God.
water. that's holy land. I think
I'm gonna
California's
I'm
nice,
gonna
but
send
I
you
feel like
pictures.
Colorado just
I'm gonna send you pictures that she sent. I'm not gonna send them in the Discord simply because they kind of give away the area of Colorado that she's in. So
for sure.
so I will
For sure.
send some of them to you.
What do they call that?
I don't know.
What do they call that? Geolocating?
Maybe.
Some of the
But
people are crazy. I almost
I'm
don't believe
just
it. I
saying they
almost feel
exist.
like they must have known ahead of time. Yeah.
I don't know, and
Whereas
I'm
like
not
there's like
taking that chance today.
yeah.
So if people try to follow my aunt, she has 3 very large dogs, so have fun.
Mine too.
Not kidding. She has a Great Pyrenees mix, a shepherd, and this other weird kind of shepherd.
Yep.
Like, you're not getting near her.
Yep. I think the Great Pyrenees is one of the coolest dogs, in my opinion. It's just, I don't know. They just come out of the box like already trained.
He's a Great Pyrenees Husky mix, and he is very stupid, which I don't understand how, but he is.
Well, it's like my dad told me this, and I agree with him. All boy dogs are a little bit stupid.
No, but he's like, he is so
Quite
dumb.
stupid.
My dad jokes that he's on the spectrum, and I know my dad doesn't mean this as a negative thing, but it's honestly probably true. The dog is very funny.
Jane and I have talked about that a few times, where it's like, okay, if autism is in the human species, right? Is it a human thing only, or is it a mammalian thing? And would we be able to see that, especially in a domesticated animal that has our protection, so they're not fending for themselves in the wild?
I mean, maybe.
Because I don't
It's
know.
hard to say, but I mean, if any dog does, it is definitely my aunt's Great Pyrenees Husky mix.
Yeah.
That there's something up with that dog. I don't know.
That's funny.
He's a rescue, so he's all kinds of weird as it is, but like my dad, I don't know, he helps take care of those dogs sometimes, and he's like, I love all 3 of those dogs, but Yeti's a little stupid.
That's funny. That's a good name for a dog too, Yeti.
White fluff, as you can imagine.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we are at the family house. They have Leo, who's a purebred Great Pyrenees. He's a really cool dog.
Yeti is honestly very like the times that I've seen him, he's cautious of new people, but he was not treated super well in the first year he was alive, so he's So when I first met him, their stupid friendly Shenandoah Shepherd or whatever she is, the biggest goofball of a dog ever. She was standing in front of him, and she remembered who I was, and as soon as she was fine, he was fine. So
Yep.
yeah.
Out at the property, just it's not that often, but every so often, like somebody will just like start walking towards you to like, oh hey, da, 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 da. It's like the culture out there. And Leo is purebred, and then Coda is half Pyrenees, half Anatolian Shepherd, and they go right up to the property line and start barking at him, like hey, hey, hey. But as soon as you go like, oh hey, how's it going? They look at you, and then they see that you're not upset. Then they're just like, okay. Whereas like Ginger, like dude, she fucking barks her head off at somebody she knows. it's just how she is, I guess. I feel like Ginger, it's fine. Ginger, it's okay. Ginger, stop.
Thankfully my aunt's big shepherds and are very like these are friendly shepherds. Like I'm pretty sure that my aunt's like the Shenandoah Shepherd, I'm pretty sure she's a golden retriever in a shepherd's body. She is the biggest goofball of a dog ever.
Exactly, because it's not to say that within a breed that a dog will be that breed. There's always variances,
Yeah, plus the breed is weird. Like, I had never heard of it before,
Yeah.
so I don't know the
Shenandoah
behaviors
Shepherd?
of it. Yeah,
I know I've
she's
heard of it before, but I've
a
never
very
researched that one.
like the only thing shepherd about her is her coloring, kind of, and her bark, in my opinion. She sounds scary, but I think it helps that my dad is one of her favorite people, so as soon as she smelled me the first time, she's like, "Oh, we're fine."
Yeah. Yeah, dogs are pretty cool. My sister had this cat. Unfortunately, anyways, I'm kicking myself over this one, but we put him down because he had some like injury or something like that. But then the vets weren't even like clear as to what it was, and I was in the room, and then everyone, like my family, was like, "We gotta put him down. We gotta put him down." And I was like, "No, dude, I think he's trying to come back." And he's looking at me like, "No, dude, don't kill me." But there's something special about that cat. I feel like he was like a familiar. Like he understood too much, it seemed. But anyways, my sister had him when they were younger. When they go to play at the park, he'd walk over to the park with them, and he'd just sit in the trees and just walk over there with them. He'd sit in the trees, and then he would just sit up there. But then if like some other kids like came over, he would apparently like watch them. But then if there was like some kid disagreement, he'd like jump down and get in front of my kids, my brother, my sister, and her friends, and he'd start hissing at the new kids like, "Hey, back up." So then, and he also liked to play fetch too. It was crazy. And then he used to, because I didn't live at the house at the time. When I drive over to the house, I keep seeing this orange cat like run away from the house, right? And then my sister's cat, he'd come and he'd come down to the end of the driveway and sit and wait for me to get out, and he'd say hi to me and walk with me up to the front. And one day I came around the other direction so I could see the porch better, and I was on the corner and I parked and I was looking, and they were just sitting on the porch, him and the orange cat, like they're friends, right? And then I got a little bit closer, and I could tell he heard my car, and he chased the other cat away, like, "All right, go, get out of here," right? And I was like, bro, that's crazy to me that he's like cool with him until I show up, and he's like, "All right, you gotta get out of here, dude. I don't want you here no more." And the other orange cat would be like, "All right," and they're both males too. So I would have thought that it was like a territory dispute, but apparently it wasn't until a family member arrived. He was like, "All right, I'm not hanging out with you anymore. Get out of here." So
we
I still kick
my dad we once woke up in the morning to so my dad had 2 cats at that point, for context, and we woke up once to there being 3. Just in the house, mind you. This wasn't outside. Like, my dad said that he reached over to pet a cat, and he assumed, that it was our black cat.
Your own cat, yeah.
And he would find out. He was like, "Wait a second, that's not the right color. I don't have a gray cat."
That's funny.
Because my dad had a black cat and a bright white and orange fluffy cat. So this gray was very obviously not right.
Yep. My
We still
brother,
don't know where this
had
cat
a
came
cat.
from.
One of my brothers, similar story of like cats going to other houses. One of my brothers had a cat at the house, and then he had a little collar with a little bell on it. And I remember my brother was telling me like, "Yeah, I gotta give Jameson a bath in the next couple of days or something like that because he's getting a little dirty, right?" Well, one day he came back home and he didn't have his collar anymore, and he's all perfectly clean, and he's looking a little bit kind of pissed off, right? He's kind of like, right? And my brother's like, "Bro, did somebody give my cat a bath?" And I was like, "Where's his little collar?" And he's like, "I don't know, bro. Like they must have took it off." And then like the next day I came home from work and that fool had his collar back on. So he must have went back over there and they're like, "Oh, sorry," and put his collar back on. And then one time, our neighbor comes over and like, "Oh, hey, your cat, like, he's under the bed, and I think he's injured. And we're like, oh, so sorry he came into the house. And they're like, our next door neighbor, never before knew this. They're like, oh no, it's perfectly fine. He comes over all the time. It's just that we think he's injured. And then me and my brother are like, what? The fool goes over next door? They're like, yeah, he comes over. You know, we assume you guys are feeding him, so we only give him like a couple treats here and there. But hope it's fine. And we're like, no, we don't care. He had broken his arm actually, so they had to get a cat specialist to do the surgery on his arm. Pretty bad, but he's good now. But I thought it was so funny. They're just like, yeah, your cat's over. We're like, oh, sorry. Oh no, it's fine. He comes over all the time. It's just that he's injured. We're like, what? How long has he
Kyle,
been
can
going over there?
I give you a slightly funny story?
Please.
Jay apparently, so he lived in the complete middle of nowhere. Like the village he grew up in was 600 people, for context. Like everyone that was within walking distance knew who he was when he was a child.
Yep. Yep.
And Jay used to get in trouble for going through the neighbor's dog door. Basically.
That's funny.
He was like 6, but still.
Yeah. So funny though. Just yep.
But they all knew him. Like most of their neighbors were like Jay's uncles, so it wasn't like strangers or anything.
Right.
But it's still pretty funny.
No, that's funny. That's funny being a fellow animal, like animals are. When you're little, you just do stuff like that.
Well, yeah, his family always had cats.
I'm curious now what everyone else is, how anyone else feels about pets and stuff like that, because I find that pets can be it's unique because it's another, they can't bring the same kind of stress that a human can bring, and they don't bring the same kind of difficulty, and a lot of times a pet can be a big source of like refuge. So I'm curious if anyone else wants to share any of their pet stories or stuff like that. I know are we still in the thing?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Kind of falling
There's
apart
my
because of
hands
my
out,
by the way.
caffeine.
What's that?
I'm kind of falling
So what
apart
were you
because
asking?
of caffeine.
Falling apart?
Yeah, because I just not having the caffeine. I'm using it to mask something wrong with my body, and it feels wrong now. Plus withdrawal, whatever.
Oh.
So I've given up. I'm just lying down.
Let's try some of that maca root stuff. I'm telling you.
Maybe in a minute.
I'll make
If you make it,
I'll
I'll
make you
try
some
it.
right now, and you can drink.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make it right now. You can drink it when you want.
Okay. There's no caffeine in that though, right?
It's not caffeine. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I was a little skeptical of it, and I would never pay full price. You know me. I'd never pay full price for something, but it was at grocery outlet. Remember, for like $3.
Okay.
And
Okay.
even if it's just placebo, I feel like it does something. It doesn't taste very good though, at all. Anyways, I'll make that for you. And then, did anyone else want to share anything, or?
I'm good personally.
Gotcha. Let's see, I'll make this drink up real quick. How's everyone's Housekeep-a-thon going?
Pretty good.
There you go.
I cleared out my desk and then did put this bookshelf together and stuff. I did a lot of cleaning on Friday, so that's why today has not been super heavy in that regard.
Yeah, I did most of my cleaning also yesterday, so
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I think make this little weird drink for Jane, and then I think I'm probably about done in the backyard for today. Probably come back into the house and do a couple things there. Yesterday
I hope Jane feels better.
Yeah, me too. Yesterday, the tub was backing up, and I poured a whole bottle of, supposedly real strong stuff down it, and that didn't clear the clog. So yesterday I did it, snaked it, had to take apart the a couple things, but got that done. So that was a good one because I was kind of dragging my feet on it because I was like, I don't want to get all that crap on me. But I have big gloves and stuff like that I use, so it was fine. So I got that done yesterday, and then got a mouse problem. I got to hunt down this damn mouse. I'm about to put a trap every corner of every room. Hey Jane,
See, Kyle, this is
I'm
the
gonna,
real
I'm gonna,
benefit of having cats.
do tell me about it. I'm like tempted to be like, I'm just gonna leave Ginger in the house at night.
You're half cat.
I told you it's not good. Maybe try to put some Splendor in it. Yeah, she's a dog cat. Should I put some Splendor in it? It's not good, huh? I can drink it though. I kind of like stuff that tastes bad though.
My dad said
I,
the only time he ever had mice, like the 6 months that they didn't have any cats.
the only time they had what? Oh yeah.
Literally the only time. I've never had a mouse actually get inside because I have 4 cats. So I mean, if they really want to
yeah.
come in here, they can, but they won't survive.
No, they'll be goners for sure.
No, I've never seen one inside. Kiwi
Yeah, we
will
got
actually scream if we have any critters inside. Like she will yell at us to come get rid of them if she can't.
Yeah,
She's
that's
great.
funny.
She has
That's funny.
discovered that we like when she does this. She'll like yell at us to follow her if there's a spider on the ceiling that she can't get to.
Oh, that's cool. She's a
Yeah,
she's a little alarm system.
yeah, it's actually pretty funny. We taught her to do it because we'll pick her up so that she can bat them down. But now apparently she took that as, oh, I need to alert them when to do this. She's
I like it.
less than 7 pounds, so she's really easy to lift up for this.
Right. Oh, you just pick her up towards it and just whack whack.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny.
I like it.
She's also, I put a picture of the husky mix in the chat.
Right on.
Yeah, she was. I don't know what else she was.
Oh, has anybody got what time are we at right
2:16.
now? Oh, just 2:16.
Yeah, my brain had to do the math.
Why did this?
Oh, that's a cute doggy.
Yes, she was. We had a lot of cats growing up, but we only had 2 dogs. Because most places we lived only allowed 1 dog.
Oh, okay.
They would say 1 dog and 1 cat, but you can hide cats, you can't hide dogs.
That's true.
There was a time we had a dog and 5 cats, I think. That did happen.
Jesus.
And nobody cared. Because they're cats. I mean,
Yeah, cats are a lot less. The whole list of things compared to dogs.
they're not going to see it. And if they know that you have a cat, then they're not going to be surprised when they see, cat toys thing. So,
Right.
technically I have 2 cats on my lease, but
So 2 for special. Buy 2 cats, get 2 cats free.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good idea.
It's a private landlord and he lives in Maine or something, so I'm not super worried
Oh,
about
yeah, you're
it.
good.
Like,
plus-
I'm not afraid.
No, he
Yeah.
really does not care. I've never met him. He's in Maine or something.
That's so crazy. That you can just
I
like
mean,
make money from a different place.
yep. Yeah. And since it's a duplex, technically he's renting this place out to 2 different halves.
hmm
I
when I
don't.
was like 19, I was doing handyman stuff, and me and my brother, we'd go around and do this handyman stuff, and we go to this place, and this dude, he I asked him, I was like, oh, if you don't mind me asking, like, how do you? Because he seemed like he was probably like in his 30s, like his late 30s maybe. So I was like, how does he have like good real estate in San Diego, like on the outskirts of the city, like pretty expensive stuff even at the time? And he basically was like, yeah, yeah, he's like, I'm a real estate agent, and I saved up and then bought this lot, and basically it had a house in the back, and then the duplex up front, which had an upper level and a lower level. And so he lives in the upper level, and then the people below him and the people in the house behind pay enough to cover the mortgage on both places and a little bit more. He's like, yeah, so I live for free and they're paying it off. And then when I'm done with this place, I'm gonna fix this because it was pretty run down when he bought it. And then he's like, so when I'm done fixing up this place, then I'm gonna look, and then after a few months, I'm gonna look to get another thing that's kind of like this, and do the same thing where I move into one of the spots. That way I can like stay there and work on it, and then move and then rent the next place out. And I was like, damn, dude, that's crazy. You're a total capitalist, but that's fine. He's just by himself doing it, I guess. But he was cool, and he's like, do you have like a invoice sheet? And I was like, no, we've just been taking cash under the table. And he's like, all right. He's like, I don't want to try to tell you what to do. He's like, but you really got to have an invoice and da 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 da. He's like, because it's more professional looking, and it's good to protect you in case somebody like tries to come after you, da da da. So he's like telling me all this stuff to like, he's like trying to help me out. You know what I mean? Um, but then but then every time anyways, whenever someone's talking about like landlords and stuff like that, I think about him, and I'm like, dude, that guy figured it out. He's
Yeah,
getting his stuff paid for.
to be honest, I did this guy kind of. So when I was moving cities, we signed a lease and stuff without ever viewing the place
Uh-huh.
because it was a whole mess, and I technically saved him a lot of anxiety because I applied and signed the lease and stuff before he even had the showing that he was gonna have. So he didn't wind up having to come down here at all.
Right. Dang, that's crazy.
I
I wouldn't do
also
it
work.
myself, but
I mean,
But-
he doesn't have like a bunch of properties or anything. I don't have an issue with people, having like a second property. It's, people that own, several apartment buildings.
yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I don't have an issue with,
Or,
private landlords.
yeah, I don't have an axe to grind against like an individual. It's anyone company where that's like all they do, and then it decreases the amount of it like puts a huge barrier on that
Yeah,
because they're having with
yeah, he just has. He doesn't have a lot of anything. Like, I know that he has an actual job because one of the times when I first moved in, I needed to call him because approval to have the Spectrum guy make a new line for us for internet, and he was like, "I'm really sorry, I was in a work meeting." Like, it's fine. I'm not. Yeah, so I don't know what he does, but he definitely does actually work.
right.
Yeah. I mean,
A little bit different.
it's not as funny as the guy I worked with when I worked with paint that literally would get our company, we were allowed to take free paint, and he was a realtor, so he would literally use free paint to paint the house that he was. I mean, that was funnier.
Right. I think maybe since Jane's kind of down for the count, maybe we just go for another one. Maybe like till 2:30 and call it early. What do you think?
That would make sense
Let me go double
since
check with
she's
her.
not
Probably.
feeling super well.
I'm gonna mute my. Yeah, and I'm gonna help out. Let me mute it real quick. Yeah, I think we'll just do that. So we'll go for another 7 minutes. Let me look at the chat real quick since I was in the backyard. We were doing it for a little bit there.
Yeah, see if Jamie or anybody responded. Because Jamie was there and then somebody else. I don't remember what their name was.
Yeah, Matt. Ooh. I recognize. Oh wow, Maskchi, Maskchi has a Wolfpack 5. Yeah, good mental health. A bunch of work. Yeah, pets are working. If the work is kind of too hard, then there might have to be other options. But if one is very cool, icebreaker topic. Yep. Social. Yep.
I miss
I go back and
having a
forth on it.
dog to some extent.
Yeah, they're so fun.
I think at some point
I have-
I've wanted to like start dog walking occasionally since I'm not in a place to have a dog.
Right.
That's something I want to
Oh,
do because I'm
cool.
like, okay, I can't have a dog, so it is realistic for me to do something like that. That's something I could do.
Yeah, you could do like the yeah, you can do the dog walk and get a little bit of money. Like what is that, WAG or something like that? My friend, one of my
There's multiple,
coworkers,
yeah.
yeah, I think he says he pays $30 a week, I think. And somebody comes through while he's at work and his wife's at work. Somebody comes to the house and walks the dog, takes him out, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I live in a pretty
right now
nice
I work
area,
from
so I'm
home.
sure that I can find people.
Yeah, you could probably make pretty good money. It's like I work from home right now, but I might be looking for local work, but I probably wouldn't be able to work from home. So I think like, if I did do that, my dogs are just right in the front of the garage, so maybe someone could just come through, grab the dog, walk them, put them back. I'm gonna finish off these chat messages. $2 a lot for ChatGPT. I go back and forth. I already have the $20 subscription, but I had to keep a lot of different. So to me, it's worth it when I kind of factor in. It's like, okay, it's like less than $1 a day. But I haven't used the free version in a long time, so maybe that's like good enough. So $20. I feel like, I don't know.
We don't
Like-
know everyone's financial situation, so
if
it's
you-
hard to say what's
yeah.
worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on what you use it for. So yeah, one male dog and mask cheese pack. Silly moments. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I know Jane's talked about this a lot too. With being able to register your pet as like a assistant
Oh,
dog
the
kind of thing.
ESA? Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be real cool if they could extend that to like, okay, we use dogs for vision, but we're really doing that because the person who has the lack of vision or less vision, needs help navigating the world, foundations with that. But then, what if a person, in addition, or if it would really help them a lot day to day to have a dog that can go in with them. If there's some class you got to take your dog through, something like that. But I think that would be something. Yeah, I think dogs, like, animals do. It does seem like different, even across different species, animals will kind of, they're influenced by the humans that are around them.
Dogs can be taught a lot of different things.
Yeah, dogs are a very unique animal in that way. I mean, they were selected for it when you think about it.
Yeah, but like service
there's a
dogs
lot of rules.
specifically,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know if you could have a service chinchilla, but kept it
No.
inside of a little.
No.
If you kept it inside of a thing while you're out, then who cares if it's
I
in
th-
there?
I think that for service animals, I think I saw like the ADA only allows like dogs, and there's one other. It's not cats, but I think it's like mini horses or something, and I don't know why, but
Oh, really?
you can't have like random
Yeah.
rodents or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, like a
ESAs are their own thing.
support mollusk.
I mean, ESAs I
Um,
assume can be almost anything, but service dogs are not the same. I have a
Right.
slight obsession with this differentiation, so I have to be careful.
that. Let me finish off these chats real quick, and then probably get going here. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, Jamie, yeah, they adopted their dog in 2013. And that's been a big help and support after the passing of a family member. That's really good too. Um, snuggling with a wolf pack is awesome.
The only
Yeah,
time that I've gotten to pet actual wolves was a pleasant experience. That did happen, but
when I
that
was
might have been the best birthday of my life. But
when I went down to LA 2 weeks ago, I got an Uber from the airport to the hotel I was staying at, and that it was like an hour drive. And the guy I was with happened to he was also a dog trainer, dog guy. And I'd asked him, I was like, "You ever been to the wolf reservation?" He's like, "No, I haven't." Like that's something I'd like to do. And I was like, "Well, I don't know about in LA, but I was telling him there's, there's definitely one down south. You gotta go quite east of San Diego for that, but so hopefully he goes there one time. 'Cause yeah, seeing a wolf in person is like, whoa, that's
we got to
crazy. That's
pet
a
some
real
domestic raised wolves at a sanctuary in St. Francis, Texas.
What's the
When I
coat feel like?
was
Is it like more rough?
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Um
like thicker furs, right?
yeah, those two were um they were some kind of some subspecies of gray wolf. So I mean, they were it's rougher than you think it will be by looking at it.
Right. I was nerding out the other day in our Astro Discord with we were talking about coyotes, and I didn't know that coyotes were in Ohio. I was like,
Oh
Ohio,
yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
I was looking,
Absolutely. I've heard them howl
and I was
before the place my dad used to live.
I was looking it up, and they're apparently um they apparently have a strong mixture with the wolves in that area. Um,
Yeah. Hybrids do
somehow, and that's
exist,
why
yes.
and that's why those coyotes are they're quite bigger than the ones we have out here. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, coyotes aren't that big by themselves, really. Um, they're
Yeah,
like
they're
obviously
not.
they're bigger than small dogs, but like they're not as big as you would think. They're
Yeah,
scavenger
exactly.
little things. But yeah, we do. I've heard coyote howls before. It's in more like central Ohio area. It was
Mhm.
I mean, when you're a kid, it's scary to hear them.
Mhm. It is, yeah. 'Cause plus their kids are huge. Let me finish off these chats again real quick. Uh, yeah, and then
Good.
Jamie's saying that it's Jamie's intention if Jamie ever adopts a dog or animal that Jamie intends to be their forever home. That I think that's a good mentality to have. I know
Yeah.
that during the
Yeah, of
pandemic,
course.
apparently there was like record adoptions, and then after the pandemic was over, it's like record animals back to the pen. And I was just like, dude,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
so
it's yeah. That makes me really mad. Oreo is technically our COVID cat. We got him in July of 20. But like we don't give animals back. That's not something that we
right.
do. Um, so I mean, we did get a COVID cat, but he's here. I'm
Right.
sure that happened more with dogs though, because um, being home with them and stuff is a lot more of a priority.
exactly. Oh wow. Maskchi, 3 of the pups that Maskchi has have been with Maskchi since birth. That is unique and special.
Wait, what?
Read them. One of the chatters on Twitch, Maskchi with the 5 dogs. Um, Chucky's been with them for a year, but they're close. 11. The dog will be 11 circa July.
Oh my god.
And then the 3 pups have been with them since birth, which is very unique and special. I think that's good. Yeah, reading the things.
Yeah,
Large
if you're in
laundry
a
bags.
position to have that, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I've never raised a puppy, so I can't relate to that experience.
Yeah, we got Dutch as a puppy, and it is unique to like, because now he's gonna be. Let's see, I have to do it kind of 12 to 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 22, 10, 23 to 24. So yeah, he'll be 12. Wait, am I doing that right? Man, I have a funny math brain. Like I'm good at calculus and like advanced math, but then when it comes down to like just normal add and subtraction, I'm like, wait, which one do you include? Because if I go, okay, he was born on 12, so that's 0, and then 12 to 13 is 1. Okay,
Well,
14,
if
15, 16,
you said
17, 18,
2012,
19. Yeah, he was born on January 1st, 2012, and according to the
then
people
the
we got
dog's
him
already
from,
12.
yeah, he's 12 and he's gonna be 13 as soon as his birthday
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he
Yep.
turned 12 on January, so he's gonna be 13. So I look at him and I'm like, dude, we've had you for that long. You know, he
It's
stayed with them until he's however many few months old. Or like, oh my god, but he was like a little puppy when we got him.
yeah, we have a my mom has only one pet left that was from when I was growing up, and that cat is now 15.
Oh wow.
And we got him at 4 weeks old. So,
Wow.
I know, too young. Something happened to the mom, I think. I'm not sure. But
Right.
yeah, we've had him for forever.
Oh, Mask G. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm just gonna close out these little chats here. Yeah, Mask G had a compromised space with a ex-roommate, so it's a good time to just get rid of all that crap. Second I moved in. Yep. They were the roommate's dog. Ended up taking guardianship of them. Parts didn't want to split the family. That's nice. So Canada, right? Caregiver. That's probably the better one. So if taking care of dogs, we probably should take care of them, right? So if like, well, I'm the one that has it on paperwork. It's like, yeah, but you never feed the dog. So see, I'm not giving any dogs to someone who made an empty threat to euthanize dogs. Oh yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, this I'm gonna highlight real quick. Abuse. Um, all right, well we're caught up on chats and I think we're gonna close a little bit early so I can go take care of a couple things. I think on behalf of Jan, I'll say thanks for everyone for showing up. And then, I don't know, Shadow, you got any closing thoughts or anything?
No, not really. So yeah.
All right.
Kyle, I'll see you around one of the 5 servers that we're in.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see if I can figure out how to my boomerness is gonna show when I don't know how to shut down the stream. I'm just gonna go ask her. So I think for all intents and purposes, we're done. Even if I don't get this thing taken down in the next 10 minutes, we're pretty much done. So thanks for everyone for coming by.
See you, Kyle.